Hi everyone, Allie Pate here, the maker behind Herd of Cats presents Road Trip Sock Yarn. Today I am here to share with you how Road Trip Sock Yarn has gone earth happy on ya. That's right. Over the course of the last few months, I have really focused a lot of my energy on a self-motivated do better, be better project. With that has come better practices in dyeing yarn. Now, many of you are probably aware of the fact that dyeing is very similar to our other fiber arts and crafts in the sense that there's a lot of repetitive motion. Something that I love, you probably do too if you're watching this video, you're well aware of the comforts in that repetition. I found that my mind kind of drifts and wanders when I am in the groove, which I like being in the groove. I took that energy and I focused on ways that I could improve. Initially, it was a pretty daunting task. There's a lot of room for improvement in my world, but I decided to start small. Every little bit helps. So initially, I started with things like reusable zip ties. Super simple, just plug it in and then it comes right out. So one step in a better direction because I'm not throwing these little guys away. Less plastic, makes me feel good. I moved towards solar batteries for my dye scale. I also picked up things like butter gloves, some bamboo towels, and for those big spills in the studio, which fortunately don't happen very often, I decided to use some of my old clothes, my old t-shirts that don't fit anymore. So these will slop up all of those spills of water splashing out. I'm feeling real good about it. But then I started to watch all of the water run down my drain as I'm soaking citric acid, as I'm getting dye baths ready, as I'm starting to wash all of my yarns, which made me think a little bit more. How could I do better with my water? No brainer, right? Water collection system. Next, I'm going to take you over to the water collection system on the side of the house to show you the little setup that I put together to make this better. Now, this is what I thought was a light bulb moment for me. I did a bunch of research on all different types of containers, how many gallons I was allowed to have, the setup for how it was going to get from the roof to the container, tons of research. And then I realized that I drive an economy hatchback, which means those nice large containers that we are so used to seeing in all of those articles, they don't fit in my car. I went with a flexible delivery type of container. This is 53 gallons, which sounds like a lot until you realize exactly how much water you use when dyeing. I can easily go through 50 gallons for one dye session. Easy. But in addition to having this nice container here, which I will say, is it wonderful? Does it serve its purpose? Absolutely. Mother Nature had a whole nother plan for this project. Colorado weather, and those of you who are here in Colorado, you know we didn't have a lot of rain this season. As excited as I was about getting this and getting it all set up and starting to collect water and waiting for that rain to come, I had to change gears and I had to do it in a hurry. My focus very quickly switched from water collection to water reuse. At this point, I'm really glad that I made that switch because I feel like I'm in a much better position for when we do have rain and I do have more water to use. Now I'm concentrating on how many times I can use the water from this container in the dye process. So we're looking at water for the citric acid, we're looking at water for dyeing, we're looking at water for rinsing. Those are the three main areas that I'm using water. So that citric acid water can be reused for the dye water. Because I math the heck out of my calculations, my water comes out clear. So once I've heated everything, then everything is coming out clear and I can use that water again. Eventually, the water becomes exhausted, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. In the meantime, after I get enough water in this container, I put it in my trusty pail and I carry it around the house. So I joke a lot about the fact that on dye days, I'm getting lots of exercise because I'm pulling the pans across to take them around. So we're gonna go back into the dye area of the house so I can show you the next step in this process. I'll see you there. We are back in the dye area of the house here. I just walked around like I told you a moment ago that I was going to do, and I came in the side door. Now, I would like for you to take notice on the wall here, I have some mirrors set up. These mirrors are intended to reflect as much of that natural light into my workspace as possible. I have this side door. I also have a door back here. As we are doing a video, I left the door closed. I get a lot of traffic noise, and I figured it would probably just be a lot easier for you to hear me this way. I have both of these doors, and I have the mirrors so that I can work. You'll notice that I have two burner pans here. Let's talk about energy. So I did some research on different options for renewable energy. You're really lucky here in Denver to have the companies offer wind, which is so cool. If you drive up to Boulder, you can see the big windmills in the distance. I like to think that that is exactly where my energy source is coming from. I don't know for sure, but I like to think that that's the case. Not only do I have the dye area all set up to the wind, we have a whole house, and it feels really good. Super easy online application. They approve you. It takes a few weeks to transition. Easy, so easy. I definitely suggest if you have that option, check it out. It's very cool. Wind, yes, wind, and that is supplying the energy to the two burner pans as well as Marty the Metro. Marty is the name that I gave it. It's just a holding cabinet. Anytime I can do things faster with less energy, I feel like that is definitely a win. So let me tell you a little bit about my particular style and my particular process. The road trip sock yarns are dyed in a two-part system. I do everything in a custom Keller pan, let all of that dye absorb, bring everything back down to room temp, and then I do the speckling. So after the speckling is done on these pans here, it goes into the holding cabinet, and the time varies depending on the saturation levels, the fiber content. There's tons of options. After that, everything cools down again, and it's a very slow cool down period. Everything is turned off, everything is unplugged, but I take advantage of time every place I can. If it's time to allow the fibers to absorb the dyes before I apply heat, great. If it's time to cool everything down to allow those fibers again to absorb and to relax, great. It's just a matter of becoming comfortable enough with your process to see what works well for you and for your yarn bases. So it's kind of exciting. It's an exciting journey to get to the point where you're comfortable doing exactly that. At this point, we have everything coming out of Marty. Water will collect on the bottom from all of the moisture inside. That's collected to be reused. I was telling you earlier, I math the heck out of all of my calculations, so the water coming out of here is all clear. I very rarely ever have residual dye in any of my pan water. Again, I pull out the trusty pail and I collect all of the extra water into my pail, and then that's either reused in this facility or I put it back into the citric acid vats because it doesn't have as many of the natural earthen fragments that come from the outside water. Oh, I want to tell you one more thing. So you know how when you are blocking your wearables or products, you can always kind of wring them out or pat them out? I have a salad spinner. This is how I get all of the rest of the water out of my yarn. I just put it in here, spin it out, collect the water. I thought this would be a really great product for my little one to help me with. I'm like, hey, little one, do you want to spin the heck out of this? Look how fun this is. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I get to be the salad spinner. That's okay. It's really surprising how much additional water comes out of those skeins even when you think you've already wrung it out. Nice little handy dandy tool. All right, so what's next? We are going to move around a little bit again, and I'll tell you what Road Trip Sock Yarn has in mind for future adventures. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot to show you. We talked a little bit about exhausted waters when we were at the water collection system. Eventually, after the citric acid, the dye baths, the rinsing, the waters become exhausted. So they get reused one more time on the garden beds. Yes. You'll notice on the back side, that is a Colorado theme bed. Looking kind of sad right now. Probably got to wrap up this video so that I can go dye some yarns and get some water out to it. In front of that, you will see a wildflower bed, and the bees really love those too. We also have some vegetables in the front, but at the very back, you will see the bee box. And fun little fact, the claw butter bars that we have available, which are the lotion bars, that's who makes our wax. Yup. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't forget to show you this. I am really excited to share with you some of the small things and bigger things that I've coordinated over the last few months for the self-motivated Do Better, Be Better campaign that I've imposed. There's always room for more improvement, and I have been working on buying all of my materials in bulk, reduce the package materials, reduce that carbon footprint. I have also transitioned to all of the tags and postcards are now supplied through 100% post-consumer recycled materials. And as my poly mailers start to dwindle, you will see that I am switching to an eco-enclose. So those are going to be more environmentally friendly. Of course, there's always room for more improvement. If you have ideas or suggestions for how I can do better, please reach out. You are welcome to contact me via email at roadtripsockyarn@gmail.com, or depending on what platform you're viewing this video, you are welcome to leave me a comment. And I couldn't do any of this without you. So thank you all so much for all of your support for Road Trip Sock Yarns, Herd of Cats, all of the yarn fun that I get to share with you. Thank you very much.